So I think since we did not discuss about reinforcement learning, I'll just show that actually the previous day slides are uploaded in your file section. You can go through. I'll try to put it frequent, I mean, as early as possible every week, I mean, every class, because there will be students who will miss the class. So if not, the CR or someone can just remind me if I forget. Anyway, I don't know whether people have the habit of coming back to the class and seeing the content immediately. Anyway, let us see. I'll just try to upload as and when possible. Okay, so I'll just share the screen. Okay. So let us just maybe quickly refresh what all we were discussing. So we were talking about supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. So in supervised, so we know that the label is given or the output is also given to the model to learn. Okay. So they also say an analogy like, say, for example, when the teacher teaches some problems to you, she even gives the solution, isn't it? So there is a like teachers monitoring your answers, and that answer is provided to you, and you check and learn that way. So that is kind of supervised. So there is a supervision kind of, because we say output is also there when the model is learning. Okay. So then that is supervised. Okay. And then we talked about, so, and in that we have classification and regression. Okay. So what was classification? When we have discrete values as output or the prediction variables, predictor variables. So we say it is classification. Say, for example, we have, say, 5 groups of diseases or 5 kinds of flowers or 5 kinds of characters to be recognized, etc. So they are all classification because they take what you're going to predict is some kind of particular category. It takes some value between some, not between, in certain categories. So it's discrete. So your output value or what you're going to predict is certain discrete value from some finite set. So that is classification, and in that classification itself we saw there is binary classification, and multi-class classification. Where binary is, we have only 2 class, like say yes or no, male or female, disease present or absent, those kind of things. So spam, not spam, those kind of things, where we have only 2 class or 2 prediction. So then that is your binary classification. And if you have multiple classes, more than 2, then it is multi-class classification problem. Okay. Then we talked about regression, where it is numerical. The output value, what you're going to predict is regression. But understand that even when I say it is regression, now since we are talking about supervised, we have the data. Like, say, for example, we are talking about temperature. Last 1000 days temperature is also given to the model to learn. Okay, so then we are trying to predict tomorrow's temperature or something, new day's temperature. Okay, so some parameters and the temperature is provided. Same way, if you are predicting the price of a land or something, different attributes are given and the price is also given, like that for some 1000 records or 1000 lands, etc. And then when a new land of the so and so characteristics appear, the model predicts the price. So since the data is given, even the output is given, it is still supervised, but the output is continuous. Okay. Then I think we talked about some applications. I think it's fine. Then we talked about unsupervised. So mainly clustering, where we don't know, like say for example, we have 1000 emails. We don't know how many categories are there, and we don't know what categories it is. So what we do is sometimes we may have a little knowledge of it. So we know, say for example, my intention is to characterize them to say mail as spam or ham, or say patient details with disease, no disease, something like that. Then I know it is 2 groups. So what I do is I try to make them to 2 groups. That is possible. That a number of groups we can decide based on some knowledge, or randomly we'll try to group them in different groups. That is also possible, because if we don't know anything about the data, then we may have to just group them. Like we used to say an example, like say for example, now the animals. Say, for example, I want to classify them as cat, dog, and say monkey. So then we know that it is the three classes, cat, dog, and monkey. So it is supervised. Now say, for example, we are going to some other planet and assume that we have some organisms. We don't know what they are, isn't it? How many classes, etc. We just have some features of them, some height, weight, color, etc. So then we don't know whether we have to group it as, say, animals, birds. We don't know all that, but we just group them into 2 groups or 3 groups, etc. Okay, so that is the basic idea of your clustering. So we group similar objects together. Like that, we may form 3 groups, 2 groups, or whatever. Okay, so that is your clustering. Now, actually, I think I forgot to mention, as such, we may not be dealing with it, but you should know that there is something called semi-supervised also. Have you heard of it, anybody? Have you heard of semi-supervised algorithms?
Ma'am, is
Somewhere,
it
if you,
the strapping
yeah.
algorithms?
Can you repeat? Is it the?
Bootstrapping algorithms, like half label data we have and then.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, kind of. So it is not sometimes half labeled, few labels might be available, or it could be like labels are not at all available. We manually some samples, a very few samples. Say for example, I have 10 lakh documents. Okay, labeling all the 10 lakh manually will not be feasible at all, isn't it? So what we do is say 100 samples or say some 200 documents are manually labeled. We say that as seed samples. Okay, so we take some important. There are different algorithms and approaches how we choose them and all. So I'm not going into that, but we label some seed samples. Okay, and then based on that we can predict others. So that kind of approaches are also there. Algorithms are available. So if you read some materials, you should understand what is semi-supervised, and in that there are a lot of research going on, which is a separate topic, but understand that there is something called semi-supervised. Okay, so few seed samples are labeled, and then based on that we try to predict others also. So that kind of approach. Then we talked about recommendations, so I think now also we told about it. So this collaborative filtering and all, we'll see it, don't worry about the terminologies. Now what is this reinforcement learning? Okay, so what is that? So it is kind of occasional reward and punishment. That is, when you take an action, when your system takes an action, it will be given immediately a punishment or reward. Okay, so based on that it decides what action it should take in future, that kind of learning. Okay, so of course we can guess that it would be used in robots, because it takes each action or each step, and it is given while training, it is given rewards or punishment. So for each action, if it's a correct action, it's given a reward signal, and if it's a mistake, it is given a punishment signal, and then it understands that it should not happen in future, something of that sort. So it can be robo navigation, playing chess, etc. So this is reinforcement learning. So you should understand that supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement learning are the major three. There is also something called semi-supervised approach. Okay, so I think we'll move on to today's topics. Since I just abruptly stopped, I thought I'll just cover it again, and then just a second. Okay, my screen is visible, right? One of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, okay, okay. At least one of you be there so that I know that somebody is there. So answer when I say something. Okay, so now we are just going through some applications. So say for example, we have an emergency room in a hospital which has some certain values of a patient. Okay, so that is say blood pressure, age, and so on. So now a decision is needed whether to put that patient, that new patient, in intensive ICU or not. Okay, since it is high cost ICU, there may be like criteria. So very critical patients may be given more priority and so. So the problem is to predict high risk patients and low risk patients. Okay, so it's like a classification problem, and it is two class. So we say it as a binary classification problem. Now, similarly, another application where a credit card company receives many applications of new cards. So it has certain attributes or features like age, marital status, annual salary, outstanding debts, credit rating, and so on. Now the problem is to decide whether to approve or not. So the category would be, we are trying to classify this as approved or not approved. So the problem is two-class problem again. We are just telling this is how your problem would come. Okay, so this we mentioned previously also. Computer, so like human learning is from past experience, like a small baby learns from his experiences. Similarly, computer does not have experience, so it learns from the data. Okay, so that becomes its past experience of a particular domain. Now it often learns a target function. Okay, then tries to predict. It is written discrete class attribute thinking of the previous examples. Okay, it's not always discrete attribute what is going to predict. It may be continuous also. So it is called supervised learning. Okay, so data, and then you understand what do you mean by attributes, no? Say for example, when we are trying to predict, say, patient whether he's having cancer or not, or say he's having a disease or not, his features or attributes are the characteristics of that patient. So it may be height, weight, then age, then whether he is diabetic or not, whether the pressure, what is the BP, what is monitored, and then whether he's having temperature, so and so on. So these are all attributes. And what is instance? Each patient record is an instance. Okay. So first patient, we consider him as the first instance, the record or the details of the first patient. The second patient will be the next instance, and so on. And the class would be the last, I mean, in the sense, usually we write it in the last, it can be anywhere. So that is one of the attributes, which it is the label actually, or the output. Okay, so that is our final thing what you are going to predict. So that information also will be there if it's the supervised learning. Okay, so and then the goal is to learn a classification model from the data that can be used to predict the class of new. Okay, so this is another example what we talked about loan application. So it is age. See, you remember previous class we discussed about age being a continuous value. Also we can say it as like categoric. So in this case, age attribute is discrete. Okay, because say for example, even if assume that I have a question now, please listen. Age, say instead of writing young, middle, old, I am giving the actual age values, continuous value. Does this now become a regression? Can one of you unmute and say? I know it's a very obvious question, but I still want to know. This same question, now it is a classification problem because the class is yes or no. Now I have a question. Age is discrete. Now I am modifying it as age being a continuous value. Will that become a regression problem, or it's still a classification problem? Can somebody unmute and say?
It's still a classification problem.
Yes, it's still a classification problem. When we decide whether it's classification or regression, we think about only the label or the class. Okay, what we are going to predict. If that is discrete, then it is anyway classification problem. We are going to predict approved or not, which is a two-class classification problem. So whether your attribute or discrete, continuous, or whatever, our problem is a classification problem. So don't get confused in all that. Just because you see some continuous value, don't think it is a regression problem. Only when you are going to predict which is a continuous value, then it is a regression problem. So this is a classification problem with certain attributes. So what are the attributes in this? We have age, has job, owned house, credit rating. All these are our attributes, and they are all categoric because it is taking only 3 different category, 4 different category, or 2 different category. It's not continuous. So the attributes are all categoric, and ID is not an attribute. It is just written there. That's all. And we have 15 instances in this example. Now, can somebody say me what is the dimension of this data? Is somebody there? Yeah.
Is it
Can you
4?
Yeah, it is 4 because the number of number of attributes contribute to your dimension. So when you say high dimension data, it is not when your number of instances increase. Okay, because see why I am specifically saying all this is because you will read papers. So they may just mention that high dimension. You should not think that is large number of data is available, so it's high dimension. Not like that. The number of attributes we consider, that is your dimension. It is contributing to your dimension. Okay. So now this is 4 dimension. Okay. And we have a class label and it's a classification problem. Okay. Okay, so we are trying to learn a classification model, and then whenever we get a new application, we try to categorize it into yes or no. Okay, now say for example like this. Okay, a new instance below, if you can see, with a particular age, a particular has job, whether it is has job yes or no, and then when he is, or whether that person is owning a house yes or no, and then there is a credit rating, whether it's good or bad. Now, based on all these value, what will be his class? That is, whether it will be approved or not approved. That prediction our model makes based on the training data what we gave. Okay, so that's how our ML task would happen. Now again, supervised, unsupervised. So they're telling the data are labeled with predefined classes. It is like that teacher gives the classes, or say test data are classified into these classes too. So I think yesterday, I mean the last class I mentioned about testing. So say for example 80-20 or something. So when we have 1000 data, okay, say the same example of loan. So we have 1000 loan applicants as data, and we know that whether it was approved or not. So that label or information is also there. So it's a supervised, and it is 2-class classification problem. Now this is fed into the model where, while we are giving it for training, we give only 800 samples. Okay, and we keep 200 separate. So we are splitting it and making it training and testing. Okay, so now we gave only 800 data for the model to learn, and these 200 are not seen by the model. Now when we give these 200 samples which were already there with us, we know the label also, we try to give it to the model predicts, and there will be an error, isn't it? For some samples it would be predicting correctly, for some samples it might have made a mistake. Now based on that we calculate the accuracy and other measures. Okay, this is a very simple approach for a testing. There are very other kinds of testing like cross validation and all that, which we will discuss later. I'm just telling when we say testing, what is the understanding. So now after that our model is trained fully. Okay, now we know that. So when the accuracy is low, we can change the parameters or we can change the algorithm and see. And always you should understand there is nothing like say which algorithm is best. So I cannot say Naive Bayes is best, decision tree is best, etc. Sometimes from the previous research, we might tell that in particular domain, we have found that whenever there is a high dimension data, we have this particular algorithm performing well. That's all. That's the maximum we can say. We can never say which is the best. You have to try different algorithms and see which is giving good accuracy for your model. I mean, your particular data. Okay, because it is learning from the data. It depends on what kind of data you're giving and which domain it is. So that's how we do the testing. So after the test data, now the model is ready. Now an unknown sample, that is a sample where we don't know the label, is coming newly, and the model predicts. Okay, so that is what is our supervised learning, and then unsupervised is our clustering. So the labels are not known. So we just have some group of, I mean just some 1000 data, and we are trying to group them. So just the same thing. So we'll just keep it different ways to tell it. That's all. So data, task, performance measure, we even discussed previously. Okay, so now let us see what is this KNN or K nearest neighbor classifier. KNN is K nearest neighbor classifier. Okay, one example of a classification algorithm. We'll just have a look at it because it's very simple. Okay, we don't have much things into it. It is just based on a distance. Okay, so now what it does, it looks at the K points, okay, in the training set that are nearest to the test input, okay, or the new sample, and counts how many members of each class are in this set and returns that the class, the maximum actually. Let us not jump into this mathematics initially. Let us see what it is. So here in this example, if you see the first A, okay, it is 1, that is k equal to 1, that is 1 nearest neighbor. So what happens is x, if you see minus and plus, they are two different class. Okay, so plus represent one class, minus represent another class, and x is our unknown sample which we have to predict. Okay, you remember in our loan application there was a new sample for which label was not known to us. We are trying to predict it. Okay, so now when we have say we have a new sample which is x. We try to predict which to which class it belongs to. So if it is one nearest neighbor, what it does is it finds the distance of x and all other samples given in this data. Okay, and it finds the closest neighbor. Okay, so that is marked in red. So closest neighbor of x is that particular point, and which class it belongs to? It belongs to minus class. Okay, so we tell that our x also belongs to minus class. Okay, same way if it is two nearest neighbor, what happens is when a new sample comes, okay, that is our x, we don't know the label of that sample, and then we try to find the neighbors. Okay, so how do we find? You find the distance, like say Euclidean distance. That's the usual approach. We have other distance also, but the basic is Euclidean distance. Okay, so finding the Euclidean distance of x and all other. See, when I say x, we are just showing that, but actually it may have an input vector, isn't it? That is the distance what I am talking about. So I may have say age, height, weight, like that. For each of that, I'll have different values. And assume that it is numerical now. I'll tell what will happen if it's categoric. Assume that each height, weight, all that will have numeric values, isn't it? So say sample 1 and our new sample, which is given x. So you're finding the distance as say d1. Same way sample 2 and x, find the distance as d2, and so on. Now we got say 100 distance. Now we find which is the minimum. That will be the closest neighbor of this particular new point. So that is marked as this inside the circle. That is the closest neighbor. Okay. So when we find the closest neighbor, since it is two nearest neighbor, we are taking two nearest neighbors. Okay, two minimum distance. So then you find that you have 1 plus and 1 minus. Okay. Now let us see what happens next. Then k equal to 3. That is the next. Now we have three nearest neighbors. We have 2 plus and 1 minus. Okay. We have three neighbors for this particular x, and majority is plus. So we tell that x is also plus, in class plus. So usually we take a k which is odd. Otherwise, see if in B case, if you see, when we talk about a class, one is positive, one is negative. We don't know which is majority. So usually we take k as an odd number, so that we'll get a majority. Okay, so we are just talking about nearest neighbors here. So you hope you understood how we'll find the nearest neighbors. Okay. So this is how our KNN algorithm would work. So determine the parameter k, okay, that is your number of nearest neighbors. Now how to determine that also comes in a later part, in the later slides, but understand that somehow we got our k. Okay, now what happens the next is you calculate the distance between query instance, means the new instance for which you're going to predict. Okay, so that query instance and all the training samples, the data which is already given to, available. So say if you have 100 instances, we find the distance between this instance, the new instance, and all other 100 instances. Now you sort the distance and find the nearest neighbors by the minimum distance. The first, say if this k equal to 3, you will see the first 3 minimum distance. Okay, you sort it in the order, increasing order. So the first 3 would be your nearest neighbors. So those points, okay, that is your nearest neighbors. Now see what is the category or the class. Step 4 is you're seeing the category or the class of those nearest neighbors. Okay, so like the previous example, you may have say 2 positive and 1 negative. So now what we'll do, use the simple majority of the category of nearest neighbors as the prediction value of the query instance, which means for the new instance, what class you will assign, you will see majority of nearest neighbors, what are they having, which label they take. That is our prediction for, that is what our model predicts for the new label. Okay, so now we have something called, is this much understood or you have any doubt? Anything to ask or discuss? Is it
Ma'am,
clear?
what if they are equal, ma'am?
So that's what I told. We choose k odd numbers. So it would be
Okay.
1, 3, 5, 7, etc. Otherwise, we don't know. We may have we may have a tie. So how do we choose? So we usually, that is our strategy. We take odd numbers of k. So there is no confusion in that. Yeah, that's
Okay,
the
ma'am.
usual approach. Yeah.
Ma'am, what
Yeah.
if the distances are equal, ma'am? The distances that we take, say plus and minus, say the distance to a minus is 2 and distance to a plus is also 2. Like
Yeah, but
from,
we are taking some k equal to something, no?
yes, ma'am.
We are
So when
taking
we
that many
sort,
neighbors.
no, ma'am. So when even if we sort the list,
Okay.
both the twos will come some like it depends on what sorting we use, no, ma'am. Like uh,
No, we find the distance. Okay. So say for example, we are taking k equal to 5. So we'll
right.
get some 5 values of distance. You mean to say all are same?
No, ma'am. Say I have negative, two positive,
Okay.
uh, and
You won't
that
have that,
is
no. I
no,
have
ma'am.
5. uh,
The last one for picking the last one. Say we
Okay.
have two options. For
Yeah,
the next smallest number, I mean the next
correct.
smallest distance
Hmm?
has two data elements associated with it. So both one is plus and one is minus. So in this case, the prediction will depend on which value we take, no, ma'am.
Yeah, but one, how do you have 3 data, no? Like 3 nearest neighbors. So you will have 2 minus and then 1 plus or 3 minus.
Yes, ma'am. So that depends on how we take, no, ma'am. Say, ma'am, let's take k is equal to 3.
Okay.
And my this one, the distances are there are so many distances, and the smallest one is 1, then
Okay.
2, and
Okay.
then there are two distances which are having 3. So
Okay.
the first element with 1 is plus, the
Okay.
one with 2 is minus.
Okay.
Now I told there are two distances with 3, no, ma'am. So out of those,
How will you select? Yeah,
one
how
is
will you
minus.
select 3 from that? That's what your
Yes.
question
So
is.
which 3 will?
Because, yeah, K nearest. So I don't know. They may actually, this is a basic K nearest. Okay. That is why we have such a confusion. This is like we are just finding the distance. Actually, there is something like weighted K nearest, etc., where the closest ones are giving more weightage, etc. So then we may not actually have such a situation. But as you mentioned, like if you are finding the distance and you feel that third and fourth, like we have two distances which are exactly similar. But do we have that? Okay, if the instance is very much same or exactly we got the same distance, then how do we choose one of these is your question, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
But since it is k equal to 3, I think the first sample seen in the transaction would be taken because our k is given as 3. It can take only 3, isn't it? Like say for example, as your question says, first one, the first closest neighbor has plus, the second neighbor has minus, third neighbor is minus, fourth neighbor is minus, but 3 and 4 distance is exactly same. But still the k is 3. So it will consider, the algorithm doesn't know that 3 and 4 has same distance. It will consider only 3 because we have given it as k equal to 3. So now how it will choose, I think it is based on the order, like how you place it. Because algorithm is already written, no, like we are not modifying it. So as and when it sees, that first 3 would be taken. When you sort, when you're, how do you sort? Like when you sort also, you will see the instance by instance. So I feel it should take the third instance what it sees. Anyway, I'll check and tell you, but I don't think we will have a clash because anyway still we are taking only k equal to 3, though we have the fourth element same distance as 3. Since the algorithm has k equal to 3, it can take only 3.
Yes.
Okay, and I think still there may be issues where we may get similar number of count and all. We will see, but since we have odd numbers, we will have a majority. But anyways, like this case, if it comes, like say for example, third and fourth instance, exactly same distance, but surely the model will take only 3. Now, Which one it will choose, the 3 or 4, that I will check and tell. But my assumption is in the the list what we provide, no, in the data set what we provide, which appears first, I think it would take that. Anyway, I'll just check and clarify before I confirm. Okay. Okay. Anything else? It's good because sometimes we also might not have thought in that way. So when you ask, I'll also go and explore and come back. So anything else you want to ask? Okay, so I think it's clear to some extent. So this is how we go. We'll anyway solve problems also. I'm just introducing, just explaining it theoretically. Okay, so now there is something called KNN is a lazy learner. Okay, so now what is this lazy learner? Can you guess? Without the knowledge of machine learning, can you guess what would be KNN? Why this KNN would be termed as lazy learner? Any idea? Any guess? See, actually, when you are providing a data set, we are how does the machine? How does the system learn? It learns from the data. Okay, so we have given enough data, so it learns from the given data, and when a new instance comes, it tries to predict. So when till a new instance comes, it already with the data, it is doing lot of study, understanding, and then it has actually built a model and it is ready waiting for a new unknown sample so that it can predict. That's how usually algorithms are. But when you consider KNN, till it sees an unknown samples, which like where you have to predict, till that time it will not do anything. Okay, so there is no training as such. So you need a training set, but that is for finding the distance of the unknown sample and the existing samples. But otherwise, there is no as such like a training happening. So it doesn't learn till it sees a unknown sample or a sample to be predicted. So then when it sees a test sample or a new sample actually, okay, there it tries to predict something based on our algorithm. So it is called lazy learner. There are other learners also like that. So usually what we see are, say if you have heard the names naive Bayes, decision tree, all that is eager learners. Okay, so which means whenever you are giving a training samples, they try to construct a model, generalize and make a model which is ready. Okay, and when there is something to classify, it tries to classify and it is ready to predict something. But lazy learner wait till the last minute before doing any model construction to classify a given tuple. Okay, so it just waits until it is given a test tuple. Okay, so it is also called instance based learner because it is just storing the instance what is provided to it. Okay, so that way we say this KNN is a lazy learning, that is till you get a model to predict, instance to predict, it doesn't do anything. It will just wait. Okay, as and when training samples are given, it will just store and wait. When you when you ask model to predict, then only it tries to calculate this and try to predict, etc. Till then, it doesn't do any learning. So that is like last minute learning, like we say. Usually we prepare for the exam just before the exam. When we get the questions, we start preparing something of that sort. Whereas eager learners are ready with the model, and when they get a sample to predict, they are ready to predict it. Okay, so that's why there is a difference like lazy and eager, and our KNN is a lazy learner. Okay. Yeah. Anybody wants to ask something? No. Okay. So now say for example, we have an example. We have data from the questionnaire survey, some kind of survey happened, and objective testing with two attributes, acid durability and strength, to classify whether a special paper tissue is good or not. Okay, we have 4 training samples. Okay, and how many parameters? We have 2 attributes and one final one is our class label. Okay, so it is 2-dimension data. So we have X1 is our acid durability and X2 is our strength, some kind of parameter. And finally, we are checking and our classification is good or bad. That tissue is good or bad. Okay. So we have 4 samples. Okay. Now the factory produces a new paper tissue that pass laboratory test with x1 equal to 3 and x2 equal to 7. Without another survey, can we guess the classification of this new tissue is? That is, using our KNN, how do we try to predict when x1 equal to 3 and x2 equal to 7, what would be the classification, whether it would be good or bad? Okay, so for that, what would be our first step? Can somebody say what would be the steps? Our new instance is 3, 7. Okay, we have already 4 instances where our classification is also given. Now this is a sample where we have to predict. What would be the steps? Can somebody unmute and say me? Anyone? K nearest neighbor, isn't it? So assume that we have a K equal to 2. Actually, you should have asked me that. I don't remember the K what is used. I'm audible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello? Yeah. Because my system was stuck for a moment. So I thought. Okay, so I think if it is 3, K equal to 3. Okay, so what would be our steps? First, we have to identify if K equal to 3, that means we need to identify 3 nearest neighbors. So first, we have to find the distance. Okay, so Euclidean distance of this new instance or query instance with K equal to, x1 equal to 3 and x2 equal to 7. Distance between this and the first instance. Okay, so that is 3 minus 7 the whole square plus 7 minus 7 the whole square. Find the root. Okay, that is the first distance. Now the second distance will be distance between this new sample and the second sample. So that is 3 minus 7 the whole square plus 7 minus 4 the whole square, then the root, isn't it? So like this you will calculate the distance d1, d2, d3, d4. Now find the smallest 3. Okay, that becomes, those points become your 3 nearest neighbors. Now you see what are the labels for those. Okay, and which based on the majority we predict that. I mean, we make the prediction. So now let us see. So in this example, if you consider, they have taken squared distance. Okay, anyway, we actually are supposed to find the root of it. But since we are not doing anything with the distance, we are just comparing it. We can even do that with the square distance. Okay. You understood no why we are not taking the root. Actually, your Euclidean distance is root of 7 minus 3 whole square plus 7 minus 7 the whole square. But we are taking only just the square because anyway we are going to compare. So we don't have to compulsorily take the root. But it is actually the Euclidean distance. So now the new instance and the first instance we are comparing. We got 16 as the squared instance. Sorry, squared distance. Same way for the second instance we got 25. Then we got 9 and then 30. So can you say if K equal to 3, which are the nearest neighbors, sample 1, 2, 3, 4? So it is 3, 4 and 1, isn't it? So they are the, so you sort, first you find the distance, then you sort it based on the distance. So now if you take the first minimum 3 distances, it is sample 3, sample 4, sample 1. Okay. Now we should see what were their what were their class labels. So see, they are ranking the distance. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so, or you can just sort, anything is fine. So now what happens? It is 3 nearest neighbors. So they see this yes no is whether it is included in the 3 nearest neighbors. Okay, so the last fourth one alone is not the nearest neighbor, so we'll skip it. Okay, that is that yes no, don't think about the class label. Now the class label was actually good or bad. Okay, so that second instance is not the nearest neighbor for this particular query instance. So we have 3 nearest neighbors and 2 are good, 1 is bad. So obviously the majority is good, so we take it as good. Okay, so that's how we make the prediction. Okay, so I think time up, we'll stop here. So this is just the basic. We have certain things more to discuss about our KNN. Okay, this is like a very basic KNN. We have a lot of variation in that. Okay, we'll just discuss, but we'll not solve much problems on different varieties. But I'll just say what are the different few varieties or how we'll handle, etc. But the basic idea of KNN is this. Okay. So anything you want to ask? Is it fine? You all understood, or you are not here, or what is happening? Am I making sense? Are you able to understand this?